Let's get Sean in here. 916-909-1320. What's happening, Sean?
Yo, long time no speak, my
brother.
What's good, man?
My man Hammer in the building. Hey, it's a blessing to be on with all three, man. It's the lucky trifecta right here, fellas. How y'all living?
We good, baby. Kings got 40 wins, man. There's still 16 games left. It's all
and
good
y'all
right now.
taking over Sky River in my neck of the woods,
you
next
pulling
to the
up?
KC compound.
Hey,
I'm better than
pulling
cool,
up,
man.
Sean? Where you at?
If y'all could get some of them Sacktown splashes or get the Violet Fog on Jug real quick, make it a little special since y'all blessing the building. You know I'm about to buy out the whole bar. Let's do it, big off.
Hey, you in the building? You confirm? You coming?
Hey, I'm gonna have to pass it through. You already know the wife got to give that a green pass. But once I get that permission,
you got to check in first.
That's nicely.
Right.
Just tell her we hanging out. We're doing the show live.
I'm still not confirmed for tournament games on Saturday. I gotta talk.
There you go. I'm gonna have to slide in y'all DMs to get y'all blessings for the wife, so she know it's official. I'm not sliding somewhere else. But
I got you.
Hey man, I had to call in because y'all asked the question the last hour: are the Kings a top 5 team in the NBA? Why not? I mean, with everything going on in the East right now, they might have better records, but they certainly don't have the same level of competition. And with everything seeming to fall in place in the West, and I hate to say it, the injuries are definitely going to help us as time goes on. I don't see no other reason why. And I got to ask y'all one of them crazy questions, man. If y'all had to compare or name a rap song that relates to the Sacramento Kings, brings up the Sacramento Kings when y'all name it, what would it be? Mine would be Freeway, What We Do. And mostly because no matter what we do, and no matter how much we grinding, I feel like they go back to the bench and all Mike says is, keep going.
Okay.
That's a good question. There's so many songs in my head. I can't even list one. I can't.
Grinding.
I can't list one either, and it's not because there are too many songs in my head.
James just keeps better off dead quotes stocked in his head, and we keep
that's right.
We keep records. I mean, we could always hit him with the public service announcement. Allow me to reintroduce myself.
My name is Kings.
But yeah, I don't know. I have to give that one some thought. That's a good.
Oh, Miles says you might be right. Like the Beam is what I think.
Indeed. Young Zell, no doubt. Like the Beam.
Like the Beam. What a stroke of genius by the guy. My goodness.
Incredible. Absolutely.
My goodness. Gave your team an identity, a moniker that just goes throughout the league.
Literally created the happiest place on earth.
It really did. It would be a great story regardless, but it's even better with the Beam because you got something to identify yourself with to the media. It's not just, oh, guess what? The Kings are good. It's, oh, light the beam.
Yeah.
They're lighting the beam in Sacramento. Like, it just adds an extra bit of identity to what you got going on and character to your season. It's perfect.
And just a footnote, because it's ESPN that has the Western Conference Finals. When Stephen A. and whoever else is on that, y'all can't light the beam. Y'all don't get to press that button. We're putting it out there right now. Y'all don't get to press the button.
Bad weekend for Stephen A. Did you see Stephen A?
What? How did he do something on the weekend?
I guess he did an interview or whatever, and I don't know if he did it.
What did he do now?
So he talked about, it was on Awful Announcing, and he talked about that interaction with him and Jay Williams a couple weeks ago or whatever. And he was like, yeah, I was surprised and I was hurt that Jay would call me out like that on my show. And he was like, yeah, I was taken aback by that. I wasn't ready, yada, yada, yada. And I guess in the same interview, he goes, it's very personal between me and Kyrie Irving. And I'm going to leave it at that. He knows what I'm talking about, and his dad knows what I'm talking about. In that clip with Jay Williams, Jay says, it seems personal with you. He's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Oh, bad weekend for Stephen A.
Your boy, they're piling up. Bad weekends, bad weekdays. They're piling up for your boy. Can we touch on a couple of just really quick things before we get back to the Sacramento Kings? Thrilled that James is hanging out with us here on this game day. Sacramento Kings take on the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Sac State will play in the NCAA tournament for the first time ever. They'll take on UCLA on Saturday. Number 13.
They didn't even get like a 15 or a 16. 13. Show some respect.
They got the 13.
They deserve that too.
They can get UCLA.
I haven't seen UCLA play. I haven't seen them play.
They have flaws. They could get UCLA. They got to be on point.
Crazy. It's gonna be at Pauley.
Yeah.
It's gonna be out Paulie. Yeah. That's gonna be crazy. They got the late game, huh?
Yeah, it's a hell of a Saturday night for your boy. It's the I think we got a Kings game that night. We got a Kings game that night.
They play on Saturday?
I think so. Don't they play?
They'd be on the road. I think.
No, they're on the road.
Washington. I think it's Washington.
It is in fact Washington.
Who do they finish that trip with?
Duke and Iona.
Utah, because isn't it Utah on the road?
Utah on Monday.
Back here on Saturday or something.
Yeah, it's Utah on Monday, and then the Celtics at home on Tuesday. So at Utah, and then versus Boston. But yeah, Sac State has a Saturday night game against UCLA.
Oh, that's gonna be popping.
Yes, indeed.
That's gonna be. Y'all might need to go to Sky River and watch that one.
You might have to. You might have to.
Be
you could be there all tournament long for sure. This is South Carolina's tournament to lose, and they don't lose. It shows in their record.
They don't
lose.
One of the this is going to be one of the first times that, and I'm being fully transparent here. Let me one of the first times I watched the women's tournament from start to end, and I've talked to you about it before, right? Like the first 2 rounds, I would always jump in at the Sweet 16.
Yeah, normally you don't need to,
because the first 2 rounds was just a massacre.
South Carolina is going to beat someone by like 75
They will.
points.
That won't change.
Yeah,
but I really feel like. And I've talked to you about this in the last every year, but in the last 3, 4, 5 years, the talent level all around women's college basketball has been going up, and up. And we're sitting here talking about Sac State, playing UCLA, saying that's gettable. Like they have the talent to be able to do that, and that is something that I think is great for the game. And somebody like myself, like. I'm tapping into the first 2 rounds now because we're going to see, it may not be upsets, but I think we're going to see good games. It's not going to be 40-point blowouts in every single game. So I can't wait for the tournament to start, man. It's going to be some good stuff.
Yeah. Stanford, Vatech, and Indiana, along with Stanford,
girls,
all the top seeds.
That little lefty with the curly hair, she be handling the
rock.
I'm
curious where you go with this. Alabama, the number 1 top seed, or the number 1 seed. Top seed on the men's side. Bama, Kansas, Houston, Purdue. Those are the other number 1s. I just have fun with your bracket. I have no idea what this tournament looks like.
Hey, D-Lo and KC Tournament Challenge coming up. I'm putting it together. You can get in if you want to. You're not winning nothing. Just like the last 2 people didn't win anything. But you can have bragging rights.
And don't text me about joining your tournament challenge because the answer is no. I'm not wasting my money to join your stupid challenge.
I'm bad at this too.
Yeah, it's just give the money to Jennifer in HR who's going to win because she doesn't care anything about this and she just picks teams and wins. That's what happens in these stupid pools. But we're the smart asses who think we know everything and go, "Oh, they could get got."
I'm winning.
I went down a rabbit hole this weekend with Alabama watching that SEC championship. And you said like an hour ago, you have something to say about this. And I'm curious as to what it is.
So I did the same thing. I've seen Alabama play a couple of times.
We went down the same rabbit hole.
Yeah. They were, well, I went into the loft this weekend because there was so much on, like had 2 screens popping off.
There you go.
And
the only place better than 32 Brew Street to watch games is Kenny's house. He has just as many TVs as 32 Brew Street. Sky River Casino.
I got screens. I got laptops. I got iPads. But I got the 2 screens too. It was popping off. SEC tournament was on there heavy.
Yeah,
that was the first time I really watched Brandon Miller. That kid is bad.
He is
bad, and I don't know what happens with this situation, if anything, moving forward. I said what I said earlier, where I don't know what you could have done if you were Alabama or whatever. Well, I know what you could have done, but what would have been right to do. It just didn't feel like he should have been playing in that moment. I wasn't even saying like get rid of him for the season or anything, but in that moment, at that particular time, it didn't feel like he should be out there on the court. They kept him out there. He's doing whatever. And then you were talking about how the NBA executives were saying like it didn't change their status or anything like that. I mean, it should give you some kind of pause. At the very least, decision-making should give you some kind of pause. But this was the first time I really watched him play. He's the best player I've seen in college basketball, easily. He is really, really good. He's a special player. I had seen a couple mocks. He's third behind Victor and Scoot, and damn, he's good. I hadn't really seen him play at length the way I did this weekend, and he's got it all.
Yeah, he's third or fourth. It just really depends on the off-court stuff. Like, I think that's going to be a problem for a lot of teams. I don't. People who say they don't have a problem with the stuff that happened at this point,
I mean,
they're going to have a problem.
So, well,
yeah.
So here's what I did, because I've watched Alabama. I've been intrigued by this young man for a while, and then this story made it. So I've probably watched the two teams that I could feel like I could tell you something about are Alabama and Houston. And I've had this like infatuation with Houston for like a couple of years now.
It's cool little stories. Damn, Marcus Sasser.
Yeah, I know. But and that's what gives me pause about them winning the whole thing is Marcus Sasser being injured. But with Brandon Miller, I went down a rabbit hole of reading about his legal issue and everything that, what went on, what happened, what the timeline was, no charges were ever filed. And, we kind of had the same opinion on the situation. And you just outlined it a second ago, in that it didn't feel like he should be playing. And I looked at this like, if he wasn't a basketball player, he wouldn't be in jail. Obviously, he is a basketball player. He's not in jail. Like there was nothing presented against him. But he's a basketball player, so he's known. So he's the biggest name attached to this. And I said after the pat down intro, if you're an NBA general manager, you have to question this young man's judgment. And right now, so far, what he's shown is terribly poor judgment. The poor judgment resulted in someone being killed. Not by him, but that's what it resulted in. And what I got hung up on is, and I don't have an answer for this. This isn't like a statement. Like, how do you, he's what, 20, 19? Yeah. Like, how do you, if you're an NBA general manager and you were talking 3 in a loaded draft, how do you believe that this young man's judgment at 19 is going to be his judgment at 22 or 24? And because if you're drafting him at 3, you're not thinking about a rookie contract. You're starting to think about the contract after and the contract after. You're drafting him that high. You're expecting him to be a part of your team for a long time. Yeah. And I just kept like reading these articles over and over and over again. Like, I don't know how to feel about this kid. Yeah. The situation, the entire situation is terribly tragic. He is a part of it, but not the main part. Right, you know, yeah. and that's the part that I can't reconcile is, how do you assign? I feel like to assign the blame to one person is relatively easy in this. But maybe we don't know everything. I don't know. Right. I got really hung up, same as you, watching him and watching his talent and then reading through those stories again, going, this kid he's got some things that he has to fix, but I don't know how to judge him right now. Right. And I don't know if I'm an NBA general manager, how I look at this. Because you can't believe that this kid is going to have the same, you have to hope that this kid isn't going to have the same judgment at 19 or 20 in a college atmosphere that he would at 22, 23 in a professional atmosphere. Right.
There's a lot that goes into the interview process. And I know some people, like, weird questions sneak out all the time to teams, ask players, and players have, like, it sounds weird, some of the questions that these guys get asked, but this is like a $40 million investment for the 3rd or 4th pick. I mean, that's just like the initial investment. And you're hoping that that investment will basically increase the value of your franchise by 100 or 200 million. And then you keep paying them, and the value of your franchise keeps going up as they elevate and become better and better players. So it's a big deal. Like, I know, like, in previous drafts, there was a player that plummeted, that I heard the executives that met with the player thought that he was racist. Like that was the vibe they got off the player.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh yeah, we won't touch that kid. And, you know, there are players that come in that, you know, a guy like Hassan Whiteside, who all of a sudden during the draft process, there's like, oh, what medications is he on? Excuse me. And he goes from like a potential top 10 pick to the second round. And so a lot goes into it. And I think right now with the Jaw situation, you're going to have to start, teams are going to look closer and closer at some of these situations and go, okay, how do we avoid that? Because we don't want that. And, you know, sometimes it's just a one-time mistake, but there's other times where it's a trend or, you know, you interview, it's just so like in the draft process, they don't just interview the player. They interview his high school coach. They interview his AAU coach. They send somebody to the school to talk to a couple of guys that work on the training staff. They talk to his teammates. Like this is a process that they get as much information as possible about each of these individual players. It's not just looking at a draft board and figuring out height and weight and athleticism and wingspan and all that stuff. There's so much more that goes into it. And, you know, can they be good citizens? Because that's such a huge investment. A top 3 pick, it, like you knew with Keegan Murray, you knew exactly what you were getting, not just with him as a player, him as a person, him as personality. Like talk about a track record that goes back like since he was young of all of the things that he's done right. Like that doesn't mean that like you couldn't have found someone else that was there, but like all of this plays into who they are. You know, when you're rating a player and you're trying to come up with how does he fit into your franchise, a lot of it does come down to that stuff.
And you know, when we were talking about it that week, and stories came out about GM saying, nope, doesn't affect his draft status at all, doesn't affect how I view him at all. I know me personally, I believe I came on the radio. I don't know if it was on the radio or private conversation. I was like, really? Like, that's how you guys really?
No way.
But at the same time, I had to take a step back and say, look, man, these guys, it's easy for us to be like, or fans to be like, no, I wouldn't touch that guy. These guys' livelihoods is on the line. Their job is on the line. And they're not going to get an extension. Better, just keeping it real, they're not going to get an extension if their team is garbage, but all of them stayed out of the public eye for bad stuff, right? Like if they were all choir boys and they were 15-60 for 3 straight years, they're not going to get an extension. So it's easy for me where it's not my job and it's not my livelihood to be like, I wouldn't touch that guy. When if it's like, hey, your job depends on wins and losses. And are you going to take, and that's not even like guaranteeing Brandon Miller or anybody gets in trouble. It just is a little bit of a risk, right? And you say, are you willing to take that risk to possibly keep your job and get an extension and continue to be in this profession? I think probably, like you just said, 100 out of 100 GMs probably would say, yeah, I'll take that chance.
I know I had a conversation with somebody who they told me that like during the draft process, they went to one of the prospects, pulled him aside and said, I'm just going to tell you right now, I would never, you're not going to fit into the range where we're drafting. I would never, ever, ever draft you. And I will never have you on my team. And like, I hope you take that to heart, but I watch you through this process and I wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole. And I hope that like, whatever that means to you, just know that if I'm on that team, you're not coming to it. And the player came back later and told that person that made a world of difference to me. To know that there was someone out there that thought that of me was like, oh, okay, I guess my behavior is not okay. And I guess what I'm doing here is not okay. But that's the problem. We're talking about 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. Like there's a lot that goes into all of this. It's crazy. Like the deeper you get into the draft world, the darker and weirder it gets. And the stuff that you hear and like the misdirections and all that stuff. There's a lot of crazy stuff that you hear throughout the draft process. But
well, the stakes are so high, especially when you're talking top 3, 4, 5, 6 picks. And obviously Brandon Miller
He's a franchise-changing talent.
He's really good. And it's unfortunate for him. Well, he put himself in that situation. It's unfortunate for his teammates at Alabama because they're really good.
Yeah.
Bama's a really good basketball team. And
that's my pick to win it all.
It's difficult to tell their story without talking about his story.
And the other thing about that too is, and this is why we say it just kind of feels like he shouldn't have been playing, at least for a little while, is because from everything that I've read, and you probably did a deeper dive than I, the details of him and his involvement are still
vary. They're very, which
off,
is super concerning. Yeah, they're off and they're not consistent. It all depends on. I was trying to stay in the Alabama area because I feel like if anyone knows, they know. But the police report, the police portion of it is the part that confuses me because it like you said, it all doesn't line up perfectly. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully his involvement isn't greater than what's been reported. It doesn't sound like it, and there's literally no indication at all that it has. Is Ramsey still there? Let's get Ramsey in here. 916-909-1320. We're going to get back to the Kings. Obviously, we got a huge game tonight at the Golden One Center. Ramsey, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Just enjoying the brackets, the tournament. I haven't started my women's one yet, but like you said, it's almost South Carolina's to lose.
Yeah.
I did do my men's one last night, and Kenny, I don't have Alabama.
I had a feeling.
I don't think I do either.
I got Marquette.
Oh, my.
Oh.
Okay, that's how you feel. Shaka Smart winning the chip.
Shaka
got them boys playing. I mean, they're not a 2 seed for no reason. I don't like Purdue as a 1. I definitely don't like Kansas as a 1 seed. And that West, to me, I think that's going to be a free for all. I almost had St. Mary's and Gonzaga meeting up for the 4th time in the Elite 8.
Oh my!
That's how crazy I think that bracket's going to get. But we'll see.
Yeah. I feel you.
I love Ramsey. I feel like Ramsey wearing the same thing every time I see him. Like Ramsey got a uniform that when we're walking around at the Golden One Center, I could, hey, that's Ramsey.
Ramsey said, man, I'm just doing what I do.
Ramsey just living his life, man, out there enjoying basketball.
And he be everywhere. Ramsey, let me get $1.
Ramsey got like
everywhere.
Ramsey won't admit he got like season tickets or something. Like he's there every time. Kyrie, Luka, out tonight versus the Grizzlies. We will come back. We'll talk more about the Sacramento Kings and the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Anxious to get James' thoughts on Kessler Edwards' performance this weekend as well. Anxious to get your thoughts on the Phoenix game overall, and we'll do that when we return here on Sacramento Sports Leader. It's Stilo and KC, brought to you by Sky River Casino on ESPN 1320. All right. Going to get chicken.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man. We don't have anything on Giannis yet, do we?
No. Actually, I haven't checked the latest, which happened like 15 minutes ago. But every other one has been still questionable.
Well, I hypothesized.
Joe Ingles is out.
I hypothesized he doesn't play because they play Phoenix tomorrow. So if there's something sketchy, you're bringing him back on the second night of a back-to-back rather than the first. Yeah. Unless you absolutely believe he could play both games.
I heard that he wants to play, but doesn't know if he can give it a go. And I don't know what is his injury.
Was it his hand?
Yeah. Okay. So what I heard was he was wearing an ice bag from his hand all the way up past his elbow. It's right hand soreness. Like today, he had a wrap with ice all the way up. But again, was saying he would like to play.
Remember Dallas, when Dallas was here, Luka was out the first game, but played the second one. That's what I think this is.
Oh, that's possible.
I think Giannis doesn't play tonight, but plays tomorrow versus Phoenix, unless he's hurt more than they're, leading on. But
yeah, I mean, they're really tough either way.
Yeah,
long, athletic, physical. Like Like the most physical team in the league.
Yeah. Yep.
That was good. Got me dancing out here.
Can y'all hit the like button, please? Great producing work by JT. If y'all could hit the thumbs up, man, that would be greatly appreciated. Thumbs up, subscribe, do all of that great stuff. Let's get a count of where we're at here. Ooh, and overall numbers sure look good, man. Thank you guys for being here. We're at 299. Let's go. I'm telling you, we can get to 400 today. Did they bring anything for me? No. I think they brought mustard.
They got brownies.
I saw. Yeah, I can't eat that brownie. I'm sure that brownie is delicious, though. That brownie definitely has something in it that will end my day poorly, but the brownies look amazing.
James, I'm taking this home too.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. But you know, like I can't take it home because I won't be home for another like 5 hours.
James also drives around with like gasoline and stuff in his car.
10 hours. I'll be home in 10 hours.
Wonder what's on the docket for
that's insane.
The media room dinner.
Like we're not on the air, man. It has been some hit and miss action over there.
There's still 500 people watching, though, even though we're not on the air.
Maybe I'm not. Maybe it's because I'm not there every day like you. I don't have a problem with it. I fine to me every time I go in there.
There's been some hit and miss stuff going on. Yeah,
I've never eaten anything there before.
Ever?
I know people go crazy over them cookies, though.
Oh, the cookies are good, especially on occasion. They have like a really good batch. Yeah,
I always miss the cookies.
There's one dude who walks in there and grabs 6 cookies every single day, and he sits
Wow.
there. And I just think,
come on, man.
And those things run out. Like those
get
things
the diabetes.
I know that reference.
Yeah. Yeah, the cookies are fire.
What's that guy's? Wilford Brimley? Is that his name?
Wilford Brimley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a strong 80s reference right there.
From Our House.
You think people still naming their kids Wilfred, or is that done?
Oh, I don't think that's
like Walter. I think that's a name that's just done.
I don't think
it's a good one.
Wilford and Walter.
Yeah. My dad's name is Ralph, and I don't know. And actually, it's Ralph Walter. It's like,
is that right?
And his last name? Yeah.
That's tremendous. D-Lo and KC brought to you by Sky River Casino. We hope to see you this Friday when we are looking live from 32 Brew Street inside Sky River Casino. You can watch the show. You could hang out with us while the tournament plays on over 70 TVs around us. Confirmed David Patrick's going to be there. Will Z is going to be there. I'm trying to talk to the individual in the studio with us to making that long trek from the gated lake all the way out to Elk Grove.
I got a nice couch. If you need to afterwards, you can pull up, spend a night, rest, whatever you got to do. I got you.
James going ham on St. Patrick's Day.
It's not exactly an Uber ride away from my house.
It's not.
It's
absolutely not.
No.
Real quick, speaking of, because we're not going to talk about, we're probably Kings for the rest of the day. Sacramento got a hell of a draw with the teams they got here. I mean, when you talk about energy, when you talk about fan bases, UCLA is obviously going to be in the house. Arizona may be the best traveling fan base in college basketball on the West Coast. Northwestern is going to be in the building for sure. And I think Boise State's going to show up too. It's going to be, and then that's aside from people like myself who just want to go and watch. It's going to be an electric atmosphere at the Golden One Center Thursday and Saturday. I cannot wait.
So wait, it's UCLA and Arizona?
Right? Yeah, they're going to be there. Now, they'll never play each other because they're on different sides of the bracket. But UCLA's playing UNC Asheville, and I think the winner of that plays Boise State or forgot who Boise State's playing. But Utah State is here as well. Some good fan bases is the moral of the story. And they're gonna show up at the Golden One Center. It'll be they got a nice little luck of the draw there.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Shout out to my wife's bestie, Kristen. Her daughter goes to Arizona. She went to UCLA, so they'll probably.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. That's fun for sure. And the NCAA tournament is always fun when you talk to guys on a team. They always get really involved with their schools, and oftentimes little wagers are made. And
Jamesi was tweeting Harrison Barnes last night.
Oh, Harrison.
After North Carolina doesn't make the tournament. They're the preseason #1 team in the nation and don't make the tournament.
Yeesh.
And then they promptly did not accept their invitation to the NIT.
I don't blame them for that.
Wow.
I don't blame them for that. You can't do that.
Hmm.
That's tough.
Man. Yikes. Hubert Davis.
Hubert. Ooh.
Yikes.
Yeah, well.
Wow.
Sorry, Harrison.
Marcus Smart got fined.
He did. Well, he body slammed Trae Young over the weekend. So that's going to result in a fine. I'm all for it, though. I'm all for guys body slamming Trae Young.
Well, the funny thing was
popping off at the mouth.
The funny thing was he body slammed him and then was like, "What?
Oh, he did.
What I do?
He did.
What
He
you
did.
talk about what you do. You just body slammed him.
Did you see? But you saw what Trae did.
Yeah, he gave him a little kick to the man region.
Like, and it wasn't even like a slick one. It was like a borderline donkey kick. Like he goes up for a shot and like kicks backwards. Like, the hell kind of move is that? And that just announced like Trae wasn't fined, was he?
I don't think so.
You have the media. I don't think he was.
No. I think it's just Marcus Smart. He got $25K taken away.
Well, it's just tempers are flaring in the NBA. Michael Porter Jr. and Zach Collins getting into it. Michael Porter,
that's
give him a little borderline
tough guy all over it.
Yeah, a little borderline choke. Sit down, Michael Porter.
Yeah, stop it.
Now, to his defense, that wasn't
Michael Porter
fault.
Jr.
Zach Collins got dunked on by Michael Porter. Michael Porter gave him a little yell and went back up the court, and then Zach just runs up on him.
And here's a rule of thumb. If you have to run after the guy, you've already lost. Like he got you. He had something to say. And the fact that you had to like half-ass like chase him down the floor, bro, you lost. Because you look so bad right now. You look so bad.
The thing is, we wouldn't even probably seen that dunk if it wasn't for you acting the way you did after.
Do what Andrew Bynum did when Shaq got him. Just go to the other side and dunk on him.
Yeah.
Chasing after him like a goof. Come on, Zach. Be better.
I never liked Zach
Collins.
Hammer, let's before we get to the Kings and the Bucks tonight, what'd you think of Saturday? 40 wins. By the way, congratulations. 40 wins for the first time in your Kings reporter career.
Yeah, the first time they've won 40. Yeah, it's wild, right? They're 1 win away from Mike Brown being only the second coach. Actually, he's already outside of the Adelman era, he has more wins in the season than any other coach.
That's so sad.
Jeez. It's so one of the worst. I know someone like tweeted like, "Oh, that sounds like poverty franchise." I'm like, okay,
yeah.
Like what do you?
I would have told him it sounds like
All right,
you need
Captain
to
Obvious.
That's what I would have said.
Yeah, you know what? Like, look, the game didn't go as planned early on. They made adjustments. I mean, I thought that like in the first quarter they were down 17-6. It looked bad.
Yeah.
They came out missing shots and they weren't getting to the rim, and
that crowd was behind Phoenix. They were active.
Yeah, and then Mike Brown isn't afraid to make adjustments, and that's something that we've seen time and time again this season. And I thought the Kessler Edwards thing was absolutely spectacular. But I also look at all of their bench. All of them had really, really impactful moments, whether it's Davion playing defense and scoring some buckets, or Trey Lyles coming up again and being huge for the team, or Malik Monk hitting shots. Even Chimezie Metu had 9 points and 3 rebounds, but he had those 3 steals, which were huge. The one where he just clean picked the pocket of who was that, Ayton up top? Yeah, he just all of them came to play, and their bench has been absolutely extraordinary the last half of the season here, and it was big time. I was super excited for Kessler Edwards, because people are like, oh, you see, the Kings went out and made the deal that they needed to make. It's like, man, that dude's played 34 minutes over 12 games, and one of those games he played 0.5 of a second, and the entire game, that's all he played was 0.5 of a second Like, I would like to tell you that, like, he's the answer or whatever, but, like, he just stepped up and he played big, and he's showing you exactly the type of player the Kings need. So whether it's him or it's someone like him down the road, that's what they need. They need that long, athletic, like, defensive-minded, guy who comes in and causes problems. And just really a strong performance by this team on a huge, huge stage for them.
Yeah.
To go into Phoenix after going 0-2 the first 2 games, and you got them right on your heels. If they win that game, it's now 2 games in the loss column, but a 3-0 advantage in the season series. And all they got to do is tie you in the final 16 games. Now you got separation.
Mm-hmm.
Just tremendous game.
Yeah, when you talk about that particular situation with Phoenix, I talked about it last week where, I learned this a lot from baseball, right? When you are trailing somebody and you have a series, you have to win the series, right? And the onus so in this case, Phoenix, you had 2 games left against the Kings. You had to win both of them. The split wasn't good enough because the split just gets you back to where you were with less games left to play. And if you're the Kings, that's all you just get one and it'll make their life a lot more difficult. And they were able to do that. And, I talk about this a lot since the All-Star break, where you said religiously, hey, this thing's about to turn up. Final 25 games of the season. These teams are going to turn up. They're going to play at a different level. And you're 100% right. Like 100% right. You look at all these teams, all these games. The Clippers games, both of those games were played at a different level. The Knicks game, that was played at a different level. The Suns game was played at a different level. And you were spot on about that. And the thing that you weren't sure about, and I was pretty sure about, was whether or not the Kings could respond. Well, you know what? The Kings have responded to playing at that different level. They've showed that they're ready for that level of play. And that's a great thing to see.
Yeah, I don't think anyone there knew exactly what to expect. And that's what we were trying to explain. Like, they haven't been through this before. They haven't experienced this. The fact that they're 8-1 since the All-Star break, it's caught all of them off guard. Like, just how good they're playing. Like, the build up to it and the conversation around it. Even when we talked to Harrison Barnes about it today, like, they didn't know what to expect. And what they found is that there isn't anything that phases them. They're ready. They're ready to take that next step. And so that's why I think, people aren't, like, you don't really know how to cap this team. Like, we don't know if they're going to be a first round out. We don't know if they're going to be a second round out. We don't know if they're going to make it to the Western Conference Finals. Like, we don't have any idea. Anyone who wants to, like, make some rash statement about it, go full perk on it, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. Like, that's not my job, is to, like, say how far they're going to go. But, like, they've sort of defied the odds every step of the way. And it's really impressive to see. And they don't believe in the whole house money thing. They don't think that they're just a team who got lucky and they're happy to be where they are type deal. They've stayed healthy. They've stayed together. They've relied on people that they didn't know they'd have to rely on, like Kessler Edwards. I mean, how big is it? Like, there's a moment, 45 seconds left in the game, where Kessler Edwards hits a 3-point shot. Like, it doesn't matter that Kessler Edwards is a guy who hit it. It's that one of his teammates trusted him in that moment to pass him the ball. Holy cow. That is a moment where a team becomes a team, where a player feels welcome, where he now feels like he's part of something. And he got to go hit the big shot. But again, who passed him the ball? Like, that's something that you would never expect. And sure enough, there he is hitting the big shot. So good on him for hitting it, but even a better, like, hat tip to the guy who passed him the ball, which, to be honest, I don't even know who it was.
That was, I don't want to say that was a crazy thing about it, but Malik just doing what needs to be done to win games.
Yeah.
Be a playmaker. I'm gonna make the extra pass. I'm a scorer here. I got 18 points. I've had some big threes in this fourth quarter, but the play right now is to hit the open guy, and it's Kessler Edwards. I'm gonna make the pass to hit the open guy, and it's just more about what you talk about. Like, these guys are a team. It's not about credit. It's not about who gets all the accolades. It's about winning, man. That's the thing that matters most to this group. It's about winning. That's all they want to do is win. It doesn't matter who gets the credit. They just want to win.
Win-win-win, no matter what.
No matter what.
Yeah, and I don't think like Keegan Murray's not like sitting there pouting because Kessler Edwards got his minutes. He's not. Like they're all on board here. Terrence Davis isn't pouting that he barely played or didn't play at all.
He didn't play at all.
I mean, there are going to be certain matchups that are bad, certain matchups that are really good. And when a guy like Kessler steps in and gives you something completely different, I think that's kind of the interesting thing. Mike Brown has a lot of different options. If you need scoring and, you know, some 3-point shooting and some rebounding at the 4, you go with Trey Lyles. If you want to go up tempo, you slide Harrison Barnes over to the 4, go Kevin Huerter at the 3, you can go up tempo, or Terrence Davis. Like, he has all of these options that he can do, and everyone is a willing participant in what's happening. You know, the only guy who doesn't get to play really is Alex Len. And I've talked to him. He's like, hey man, I'm fine. Like, do I want to play? Yeah, I want to play, but
check still clears.
Yeah. He's like, this is a good situation. This is a good group of guys. Like, I'm having a good time like everyone else is. Like, would I like to play? Sure. But and if my number's called, I've been doing the work to make sure I'm ready for it. But at the end of the day, if I don't play, like, I get it. I understand what's happening. And so the ego, the collective ego is together on this team. There isn't somebody who's stepping out and really causing a problem. And even if there was maybe some minor stuff like early and mid season where you felt like some guys weren't really happy or comfortable with their role, all of that's gone. They're all pulling one direction. And even, Mike Brown going off on De'Aaron Fox and Domas, De'Aaron was asked about it and like, yeah, I've been more vocal. I get it. He's every step of the way. This is what the job is. You know, these guys are learning on the fly and they're taking the constructive criticism. They're running with it and they're getting better. And so kudos to Mike Brown for like not just having a holy cow, I can't believe this is happening and we're winning. Like, no. Like every single step of the way, he's got a game plan for how to push his team further. And that's interesting.
Speaking specifically about Kessler, and we'll use Terrence Davis because Terrence has regularly played. Do you think this is because I think Kessler said he had a pretty good feeling he was going to play on Saturday.
Yeah.
So he got a heads up that he was part of the game plan. Is it just again, speaking specifically of Kessler Edwards and Terrence Davis, is it matchup specific? Like, Kessler might see the floor tonight. He might not see it on Wednesday against, I think it's Chicago. That could be Terrence's night. Is that what we're looking at specifically with those two guys moving forward, or does Kessler kind of fall back to more DMPs than not?
Well, I mean, if Keegan Murray stepped up and was just great, then we're not having this conversation really about impactful.
So you feel like that fell more on what happened with Keegan versus what their approach was going to be with Terrence?
Well, no, I mean, I think coming into the game, it was very clear that Kessler Edwards was going to get the call. And Harrison Barnes brought it up too, that this is the game plan. This was a game plan last time they played Phoenix where Kessler got some early burn against Devin Booker. So there's something they like about that matchup. You talk about Chicago. I could very well see that same exact thing against DeMar DeRozan. So I could see that same exact thing tonight against Chris Middleton if he heats up. But it really kind of depends on situational stuff. And if Kessler Edwards comes in and does okay for 3 to 6 minutes, he might get the other 3 to 6 minutes in the third quarter. If he does great, if he's impactful, if he's changing the flow of the game like he did against the Suns, he's going to play more. Like, no one expected him to close the game. They expected him to come in, give him some solid minutes, and then go back to the bench. And it just worked out that he was the better player that night, the better matchup, and they stuck with him. So again, that's what I like about Mike Brown. He's not afraid to hurt someone's feelings and say, look, tonight it's his night and it's just not your night. And that's okay. We got other guys that will step up. And that's kind of how I saw the Kessler Edwards setting on Saturday.
Yeah.
Real quick, KC, you're listening to D-Lo and KC on KIFM West Sacramento 98.5 FM, KRXQ HD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320. Always live on the free Odyssey app, live in video form on twitch.tv/ESPN1320 and youtube.com/ESPN1320.
We talked about it earlier as well, but another thing that was super impressive about that win on Saturday was the fact that your two guys, your two all-stars, some guys that we said were possible All-NBA guys, they had pretty pedestrian games. Now, they made some big buckets late, but as far as their stat line and overall, Sabonis, we were marveled at the fact that he didn't get a double-double somehow. 17 points, 8 rebounds. De'Aaron Fox, 18.6 assists. And you were still able to win the game and put up 128 points with the bench coming in there. Damian talked about how 5 guys played off the bench. 4 of them had double figures, and one of them, which was Chimezi, had 9.
Yeah.
So this team is, and the other thing about it, your starter went scoreless, Keegan Murray.
Mm-hmm.
So this team continues to show the depth that they have and what they can do. And now, if you can add a guy like Kessler Edwards into this, and I'm not saying he's going to get 12 every time, but to be a very productive guy coming off the bench every time, it just adds to the depth now. Because now you got a guy in Terrence Davis who's put up big-time numbers for you, who's might not play in a game, and they might not even drop off. They might not even feel a loss.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of this team. It's that they have all of these different types of players, types of scorers. And it's really tough to game plan. When you're just game planning, teams are coming in and they're scouting really heavily De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. And the game plan is, how do we slow down these 2 guys? And that means that sometimes you got to send an extra body at one of them. Sometimes you got to send an extra body at both of them. Sometimes you got to collapse on them. Whatever it is, that just opens it up for everybody else. And these guys clearly, Phoenix had a game plan to stop them. And it's something that you should look at when it comes to like a 7-game series. Like, if you can stop De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis and still lose, that's a problem. Yeah. And the problem, the Kings have, maybe 7 guys on this roster that can put up 30. That's big. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be each of them going for 30 every night, or each of them going for 15 or 10. But the way that they're able to share the wealth, and the assist numbers are astronomical this season. But you have so many options, and there is no way to fully stop the Kings, which is why they have a historically good offense.
You mentioned their bench a few minutes ago. You mentioned what you just talked about with Domas and De'Aaron, and how if you can game plan for them and still lose, that might be a separation factor that we haven't spent enough time talking about this season. How, and rightfully so, a lot of attention has been on De'Aaron and Domas and Mike Brown. This bench has at times been game-changing. I'd argue Saturday was a moment where it was game-changing. I think they've had a few other moments this season where they've changed the game, and I can't remember the team specifically, but I remember the starters weren't playing well. Bench got them going. De'Aaron came in and closed it out. And to me, like, when you start, like, even tonight, this Kings bench is better than Milwaukee's. Their starting lineup is really, really good. But the Kings bench, when you start lining them up against other ones, it's like the Kings might have an advantage against, I don't know if they do the Clippers. There's probably a handful of teams that they don't. But again, it's a handful. It's 2, 3, 4 at most.
Yeah, I mean, the Kings bench is really, really good. On the downside, they don't, they could still use more defensive presence there with the second unit. Outside of Davion, it's like 3 or 4 offensive guys. So yeah, this bench can bust you up for a bunch of points. They can also give up a bunch of points like the rest of the guys. So there is that flow, and there isn't like the switch that you can hit where you go to a defensive lineup. The Kings don't have a 5-man lineup that they can put out there that you would consider like super defensive. Maybe you can start peppering, a guard lineup of Davion and De'Aaron with Kessler and Harrison Barnes and then Domas, but still you're not looking at that as like a grade A defensive squad. But what they're able to do is they're able to carry forward what their basic core principles are. Remember earlier in the season when we were talking about how as soon as Domas steps off the floor, we see this major dip. Well, somehow they figured that out. And kudos to a guy like Davion Mitchell, who has stood out
Yep.
probably the first 40 games of the season and stood out as someone who wasn't in the flow of the offense ever. And then all of a sudden you don't even notice him. And that's the good thing. When you notice him, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're not noticing him, which means that he's cleaned up a lot of that stuff. There isn't the over dribbling. There isn't the pounding the rock. You're seeing Chimezie Metu come out and make the right plays, set the screens, get the ball to somebody else, play off of the guards better and the forwards better. Just overall, the movement's better. And it took that second unit longer to figure out than the first unit, but that's expected. The second unit doesn't have Domantas Sabonis, who's running the whole thing. And they don't have Fox, who his speed and quickness changes everything, collapses everything. Mm-hmm. And so, like, when you take those guys out and, they're staggering their minutes and all that stuff, but I really do think that the second unit is finally figuring out who they are and what their identity is. And again, you watching Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles is so good.
Yeah.
Like, he's just walking out there and like, okay, I'm ready. Just go ahead and kick me the ball. I'm going to hit every three. The confidence level that he has right now in his shot, it's just off the charts. You're watching him like develop and grow just like everyone else is. And it's really fun to watch.
The other thing about that is we talk about Kessler Edwards, sometimes taking the place of Terrence Davis. Well, you even got a guy like Terrence Davis. I don't look at him as a negative on the defensive end. Say he's playing that day. He's a solid defender too. I think when you get into situations with him is, he's shorter than Kessler. So with, say Chris Middleton or something like that, you want a little more length. But if he's out there guarding, we saw him guarding Luka, when they came back against Dallas, and Luka had his way with him a few times, but there was also times when Terrence run that battle and made him work. So they're starting, you mentioned it, James, they're starting to accumulate a number of different guys that slowly but surely, we may not get here this year, but Monty's accumulating a certain amount of guys that allowed him to play a number of different ways and still keep their offensive potency.
Yeah. I mean, every single one of these guys has stepped up in different ways. And I don't know how many games this season I felt like Trey Lyles was like impactful in the winning. Mm-hmm. Like where you thought, okay, if they did not have Trey Lyles tonight and Trey Lyles wasn't this player tonight, the Kings would not have won.
You've seen it enough times to say, re-sign him.
Yeah, it's probably like 8 games, maybe 9. But for like the 8th guy in your roster to be that impactful, that's pretty tremendous. A guy that like even has fallen out of the rotation. I mean, he's played 60 games, but he hasn't been hurt all season long. So he's down about 6 games off of. So he's had 6 DNPs. Like I can't even imagine not having him out there on the court, and the fact that he can play the 4 and the 5 just really changes everything, because then you can go small ball and you can, really have roster versatility. So I get a little bit like I've talked to, Monty and Wes and those guys. Part of their problem at the deadline was if we add players, who loses? Who is going to be the people that aren't going to be on the court anymore? And is the upgrade going to be worth what it is what we're losing? And at the end of the day, they didn't get deals done. Whatever happened, they thought they had a couple of deals. Whatever happened, they didn't. Nothing, materialized. But I think they were comfortable going into the second half with, what's really a minor upgrade in Kessler Edwards over KZ Okpala. And he's still like a guy who's on the bubble, but like they're going to face the same thing moving forward. Like, okay, if we're going to upgrade a position, how do we do it without either upsetting the apple cart or with, losing something that we already have. Yeah. And so it's going to be difficult for them to do.
Yeah.
James, I'm going to give you some stats, some numbers, and you have to tell me what the hell they mean, because I'm not sure I know.
Okay.
We know Keegan Murray was scoreless last night. It's the second time in
3 games.
3 games. I think it's 4, but we'll go 3 because you're sharper than I am at that. So we'll go regardless. Second time he's scoreless in recent memory. Kings are 9-0 when Keegan scores 20 or more. It's a tall ask, but 9-0 when he scores 20 or more. They're 13-5 when he scores between 11 and 15. I don't know what any of that means, because I feel like 20, especially with Domas and De'Aaron and even like Kevin Huerter, and the fact that we've made one mention of the fact that Harrison Barnes led the team with 19 points on Saturday. Like, he can still get buckets for you. I feel like 20 is a tall ask for Keegan Murray. But 11 to 15 feels like the range that you would want Keegan in. And they have a really good record, 13-5, when he's able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to sort of the versatility of this team and how they have all these different scores that can do different things. And when Keegan scores like 11 to 15, is that what you said it was? It's typically because he hits like 3 or 4 threes. And that just tells you, like, if he's hitting 3 or 4 threes, this team is nearly impossible to beat. Like, and when he's scoring 20, that means he's hitting 5 or 6 threes, because he doesn't get a bunch of other shots. But if you got one guy hitting 5 or 6 threes, this team is nearly impossible to beat. If they hit 14 threes, what's their record? It's
if they hit 12, it's
Will Z. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. If you have Kevin Huerter, I would like to see what their win record is when Kevin Huerter hits 4 threes. It's probably they're one of the most unbeatable teams in the league. So, and that's the beauty of this team.
Feels like that doesn't happen very often anymore.
Kevin?
Yeah.
No, it's happened a lot more than you think. Over the last like 2 weeks, he's been incredible. Like, I mean, there was a point where he was shooting like 57% again.
Yeah.
So, but there are also games where, I mean, how many games has Harrison Barnes scored over 20 or over 18 out of the last like 3 weeks? And we can go back and look, and it's way more than you thought. And part of it is because this team scores 1 billion every night. Like, if you don't score 15, everyone's like looking at you like, hey man, like, what are you doing over there? Yeah, where are you? Who are you over there? Like, we all score 15, we all win. Like, there's so many scores on this team. It's crazy.
I love it. I love it. And like I said before, I just think that puts a lot of pressure on other teams, man. Like, you're looking at Phoenix at the end of that game on Saturday. And I don't want to go overboard and say there was like panic, but I felt like you could sense once they got behind the Kings, like when whatever happened with Domas, and I think he had pick and roll. Monk hit him on the pick and roll. They went up 117, 115. Then Fox hit him, and they went up 119, 115. There was a sense of, like, we have to, for Phoenix, we have to score right now. We have to score because they're scoring. They're scoring. You see the clutch offensive rating that they have. That's no joke. That's over 60-something games now at this point. Like, they are dominant offensively in the clutch, and that just puts pressure on the other team on the offensive end to have to score. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things I remember seeing with those Warriors teams, and even today with Steph, but it's a little different. But with, you know, the first year they won, and then with KD and all this other stuff, the pressure they would put on you to keep them from going on like a 8-0 run because you didn't score was, you felt it watching the game. And I feel like the Kings put that type of pressure on other teams to score to make sure it doesn't turn into an 8-0 run to cost them the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cool thing about the Kings offense is it's very nuanced, and it really depends on who is on the court at each particular moment. So we talked about this, like the DHO, the dribble handoff, right? That where Domantas Sabonis is orchestrating so much of the offense from the center position, where they're feeding him and then he's playing off players around him, right? And then when he goes off the court, you go back to a traditional pick and roll where they're not using Chimezie Metu as the orchestrator of the offense. So that seems like something very subtle that doesn't mean that much, where either the big man is making the pass or the guard is basically using the big man to make the pass. But it's a huge difference. And when teams have to go back and forth and try to match up against both of those different looks, it's just really hard from one moment to the next to figure out what's happening. And that's why we see these moments where, like, you know, Malik Monk and Chimezie Metu just start like this crazy chemistry in the pick and roll. It's because like the opposing defense had set themselves up to play against Sabonis. You switched out players, and now the whole game shifts. It's because it goes from, again, a guard making a decision to a center making a decision, back to a guard making a decision. And these, like the personalities between all of the different players on this team, it makes it so there are moments where Harrison Barnes is the one making the decision, or De'Aaron Fox is the one with the ball and he's making the decision. And sometimes he's in the like pick and roll with Sabonis, or he's not. So again, it's about the versatility and sort of all of these different looks that you have to prepare for, which aren't just different like versions of the same play. They're very different versions of like complex plays that you have to figure out how to defend.
I want to mention one thing on Kevin Huerter, because I felt like I was going crazy there for a second. In the last 10 games, he's only made 4+ threes 3 times. He did it in back-to-back games against Minnesota and New Orleans, where he hit 6 each. He hit 4 in Phoenix, in Phoenix. Interestingly enough, 2 of those are losses. They lost to Minnesota. They lost that first one to Phoenix. They beat New Orleans. Once you go past that Phoenix game, that's the cold Kevin Huerter stretch, and it is slim pickings once you start trailing back. I think there's 1 game of 4+ threes in the calendar year, maybe 2. I found one on the 9th. There's 2, but he seems to have these hot and cold streaks, and he's not taking a lot because, as you noted, he's hitting at a high clip. He's hitting at 50%. He's just generally taking. He's 3 of 6, 3 of 7 in a lot of these games. Or I think we had a case where he was 6 of 10, 6 of 9 in a couple of these games as well.
Yeah, over his last 11 games, he's shooting 44.4% from 3, and he's averaging 15.9 points. So, well, yeah, he's on a hot streak.
Yeah.
The one good thing about Huerter is that even when he is missing the 3, his 3-point percentage, his field goal percentage is really high. So, we're looking at a volume shooting 3-point guy with who's shooting 48.7% from the field. So it's one thing to shoot 39.9% from 3, but there are a lot of guys out there in the league who are shooting around 42% when they're shooting 39.9 from 3. He's shooting almost 49% from the field.
And if I dropped it to the 11 games that you just did, he's shooting 53% from the field.
Yeah.
In addition to that 3-point percentage that he has.
Yeah. There are times where like he's not playing well defensively, or he's missing open looks and you got to go to a different direction. But I'd also say that like him and Monk are dueling banjos. There are very few games where both of them are crazy good. But between the 2 of them, probably you can look at their win percentage, probably 60 to 70% of the time, one of the 2 is gone off. Right. And it's just how the function of this team. And he's playing, like Malik is playing more minutes lately. And so Kevin, over his last 11 is like 28.5 minutes per game. And, as opposed to like 31 that he was averaging earlier in the season.
And that always brings
Malik's at 22, by the way. Since I'll do 22 in the last 9 games, because I'm doing it since he came back from missing those 2. And that's the All-Star break. So since coming back from the All-Star break, Malik is averaging 22 minutes per game.
Yeah, Harrison Barnes, like he's been so good that people just like forget about it. So like over his last 6 games, he's averaging 18.7. He's shooting 36% from 3, but 53.7% overall. And he's getting to the free throw line like almost 6 times a game. So all of them bring some weird value. Like there's very few players on this roster that's
what I bring to the show for Kenny is weird value.
There you go. But you understand what I'm saying. Like there's very few players on this team that don't fit some sort of.
Shoot, I'll take Malik's energy. I'll just give me Malik's vibe. Like that's what Malik brings. Just Malik's whole vibe works for the Sacramento Kings.
It does. Yeah. Sean continues to say he thinks he's the most important player on the team. I don't fully agree. Like I
don't disagree with. I won't
there are
fight
times,
him on it.
Yeah, I would. it's not worth fighting over, but there's certainly moments where I'm like, it doesn't really matter if Malik's that impactful this game. The rest of the guys are that good and they're doing what they're doing. Like the team really struggles without Fox. You know, if you take Sabonis out of the rotation, this team is really, really going to struggle. Harrison Barnes has played all 66 games. We have no idea what this team would look like without Harrison Barnes this season, but I don't think anyone wants to see what that feels like.
Or next season.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, I wasn't going to say anything other than when we see like numbers like what you're talking about, or just not even numbers, just, man, it really feels like when Herter's on, Monk isn't on, and vice versa. You know what I mean? And it always makes people say, well, damn, what if they start clicking? What if they all start clicking together for a 10-game period? Like, what does that look like?
Or a 7-game series.
7-game series.
Yeah. Versatility.
You're not prepared for this team to win a playoff series, are you? You're not prepared for this team to go to the Western Conference Finals, are you, James?
I have no idea where this team is going to go. I said it early in the season, like when we do projections before the season starts, I was very clear. I thought that this was anywhere between 10 and 6. And they've outplayed that considerably. I did not think that they would have a chance at 50 wins. Now,
look, James, you know me. We talked about it all year long. I've been the most optimistic media member that you can think of. I didn't see them being the second seed in the Western Conference. They have blown by, obviously, the most optimistic view that somebody would have had for them coming into the season, and it's great to see. But I didn't see this coming.
No, I don't think. And if you did see it, I want to see your betting receipt. Like, show me where you had it.
No, you talked to Kenny Caraway in December.
Kenny Caraway in December.
Then things changed a little bit.
Some people are a little late. Some people getting on board now. It's all right. It's all right. You're in the cheap part of the train. We're in the first class section where the food and the alcohol is. Y'all can ride in the
table in front of. We have a table in front of our seat.
Yeah, y'all in the cheap part. Yeah. You can ride, but you're in the cheap part. Yeah. And don't act like you're there first either. Don't act like you forward thinking. We know what y'all out there doing. We see you. Just because Kendrick Perkins said something about the Kings, y'all want to get on board. Because JJ Redick said, sorry, guys. No. That ain't the day. We're going to come back. We talked about the Phoenix game with James Ham. Let's talk about Milwaukee. Let's talk about this upcoming stretch of basketball. It's a difficult one for Sacramento, but that's what we said 4 games ago, and they've stepped to the challenge here, being 8-1 since the All-Star break. So we'll talk more Kings basketball with our 1320 Kings insider James Ham when we return here on D-Lo and KC, brought to you by Sky River Casino on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320.
Sorry, guys. I'm watching this video of Tyler Hero when he was in high school, and these guys are talking to Tyler, trying to get in his head. Tyler started busting their ass.
It was him and Ty. Like, they were the Mr. Basketballs and Iowa. Halliburton.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. They're long time friends / competitors.
Tyler Hero started busting these dudes' ass.
I remember the Chatty House had recommendations on me. I'm getting a new chair to podcast from. What do you guys got for me as far as what chair? Clearly, I'm getting something with arm rails because I don't ever want to have these two show up in my house and go, "Oh, your chair doesn't have arms." I
feel like I've adjusted in life. I mean, haven't had them for so long, or just
I have to have some. I'm getting something new for my back, just to be able to get through. I see Herman Miller. Aldrin J. I can do a gaming chair, but I need it to be a tall, like more of a whatchamacallit, a drafting chair.
Those gaming chairs are not comfortable. I don't know why people like them so much.
Gaming chairs? Yeah, because I don't need all the speakers and the weird stuff put in there. Yeah, see, Costco, I needed a chair, hopefully with like the bottom ring. if you guys know what I mean, like the ring that you can put your feet on.
Like these things on these chairs. You got them.
Okay, so Herman Miller, I keep seeing this. I can't do a lazy boy. I did just get a lazy boy recliner though. Secret Lab is incredible. Okay.
Alex said he's on his way. Gonna go to one center coming from San Francisco.
I
wish I could go tonight. This is a good game.
What did Meg say? Herman Miller by far. Okay. Michael Gallery, how much do you want to spend? I'll spend what I have to spend.
Damn, that's big money talk.
I'm not spending like $2,000.
Okay, Ham.
But I
talk that talk.
I definitely I need to not.
That's that talk.
I need something that's gonna last for a long time because I'm hurting.
Hey guys, look at this. The Action Network. It said the Raiders Super Bowl odds before signing Jimmy G was plus 3,000. After signing Jimmy G, it's now plus 600 or 6,000. Excuse me, messed up the joke like Chris Rock. So they went from plus 3,000 to plus 6,000 after signing Jimmy G.
ESPN put out a tweet like with the same 4 offensive weapons like Jacobs, Adams, and those guys, and they had Jimmy G. How much dangerous is the offense going to be compared to last year? The same? Maybe a little worse?
Wash, bro.
Hey man, I'm gonna need you to stop disrespecting my boy Jimmy G.
Well, in the 10 games that Jimmy plays this year, he's going to be very good.
Hey, 10, stop disrespecting my boy, man. Jimmy can play, man. Jimmy can play.
They need to go get really tall wide receivers. Because he likes to throw high.
Stidham moved on. I thought you would just keep Stidham.
Yeah. Hit the thumbs up while you're here. Please hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button too if you're not a subscriber. Oh man, Kyron hit you with the $1 Million Man tweet. I'm rich and you're not.
This is what James. Did you hear what James said?
I didn't.
They're asking me what kind of chair.
And then somebody goes, "Well, James, how much are you going to spend?" And he goes, "Spend whatever I need to spend."
I'm gonna spend what I need to spend on it.
Damn,
on a
that's
chair.
That big money talk.
If I got to sit in a chair for 4 hours filling in for Kenny when he takes another vacation, leaves his family behind again, takes another vacation, I need a chair that can hold up and support my horrific back for as long as possible.
I don't hate investing in a chair that you got to sit in forever. It's like a bed. People don't invest enough in their bed.
Oh, yeah.
You lay in that joint for 8 hours every single night. Invest in it.
Yeah.
My grandmother had what I call the $1 Million bed. She had one of those, moves up and down and stuff.
I've got one of those. It's a
that's
lifesaver.
really just the platform. That's not actually the.
Oh, you mean the mattress?
Yeah. No, the mattress you got to invest in.
Yeah, these guys saying I'm just going to sit on a stack of money. No.
Well, if it's comfortable. If it's comfortable. I just want a chair with armrests. That's all I want. Just some place to put my arms. You're micro. I didn't hear a word you said.
That's what James is looking for. Check for armrests, just in case we have to come up.
Just to Dealing with KC, brought to you by Sky River Casino. Sky's the limit at Sky River Casino. We'll be broadcasting live there on Friday. We hope that you can make it out. Sky River Casino is the place to play with over 2,000 of the newest slot machines and over 80 table games. Sky's the limit, baby. Get out there this Friday, St. Patrick's Day. Watch the tournament. Be a part of D-Lo and KC as we'll be broadcasting live. Our very first, nearly 3 years into this show, our very first live broadcast.
Can't wait, man. I cannot wait. I am hyped up for this. Friday, St. Patrick's Day, NCAA tournament, D-Lo and KC. Can't wait.
Kings play the Nets the night before, too.
I need a W.
Yeah, Kings
Nets
play the Nets.
Nets out here making moves.
I
I'm going to keep saying it. Your boy did it again yesterday.
Because he's good. tried to tell y'all he was good.
Ooh, Michael Bridges out there hooping. Spencer Dinwiddie. That's gonna be.
That was a good trade. I mean, as good as it can be. That's probably the most useful thing Sean Marks has ever done.
No, good for Sean Marks. He finally did something useful.
He did.
Hey, you gonna drop $5 into one of the slot machines on Friday?
You know what's funny about that? You know how I feel about gambling. I'll throw money away. Lord knows I've done it a time or two, but I refuse to throw it away on gambling. That place is so nice. Like the machines are so new and they're so nice. You just want to go like play at it. So the chances of me losing money on Friday are probably high.
I'm going to the blackjack table at some point.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
That sound clink, 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 clink.
I think
clink, clink.
I think D'Lo KC in the chatty house roaming around Sky River Casino at 4 o'clock. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That'll be
My aunt,
something.
she's big on the craps tables. She tried to, they have one over there. They play a little different than normal, but I can't. I'm not into the craps.
Okay.
I may play though.
I like craps.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't care. I might play.
What's roulette? Where you just like you can say you could just pick black or red and you can win that way.
Always bet on black.
Always bet on black.
Passenger 57.
That's what Wesley Snipes said. Yeah. Yes, indeed. That was Wesley Snipes pre-problems. Like he was one of the hottest actors in the game back then.
Right before Theo Huxtable flies out the plane.
Theo. Malcolm Jamar Warner does. He does have a rough end of that.
Yeah.
Kings and Bucks tonight. I have a feeling about this game tonight, Hammer. And I told you last week. I think the Kings are going to get the Phoenix Suns. And the line of thinking is exactly the same with Milwaukee. It wasn't because Phoenix isn't a great basketball team, and it's certainly not because Milwaukee isn't a great basketball team. It's because the Kings have lost 13 in a row to Milwaukee. And I think they're aware of that. As Will Z noted, Rudy Gay was the leading scorer and Costa Koufis was the leading rebounder.
Big ups, Costa.
The last time the Kings beat the Milwaukee Bucks. It's at home. You've already lost to him this year. Giannis he's listed as questionable right now. I have my feelings about whether he's going to play or not. You're on a roll. You're headed to the rope. And I'm kind of feeling this one for the Kings.
They
haven't beat them in 7 years.
The Kings are really, really good the second time they face a team.
Unless you're Atlanta.
You're Atlanta. And then you just lose to Atlanta every time. For no reason.
Well, the Kings are like Draymond. The Kings are like Draymond Green, though. It's hard to get up for them sorry MFers like Atlanta.
Well, when you play against the Hawks, first of all, John Collins wants to show up because he wants to come play for you.
No.
And then Bogdanovich wants to show you up because he, of course, is your former guy.
When was the last time anyone thought about him?
Yeah, we're still happy for him.
And then the Kings passed on Trey.
I didn't care.
So he's always got a chip because they passed on him. And
Trey lives with a chip on his shoulder. Now he's going to be mad.
Is that
Marcus
what stops
Smart
him from playing defense?
I don't know. I think his lack of defensive ability keeps him from playing defense. And I think he's slightly overrated.
Oh, my. Wow.
You know what? I say that, and I'm just remembering that conversation where he looked up his numbers. Yeah, he's not overrated. He's really good. He's not likable.
No,
he's not likable. He's not overrated.
Then you got DeJounte Murray,
really, really good.
Likable either.
Yeah, that whole team isn't likable. Bogey about to turn heel any second.
Remember that one time Trae Young said the regular season was too boring for him?
Oh my God!
And it was like the 4th game of the season.
I think playing defense is too boring for him.
When are these young dudes gonna show? Like John Morant talking about the West. Oh, we got the West. Trae Young talking about the regular season's boring. Come on, man.
Oh man. They said they think Bogey gonna be gone though at the end of the year.
They said they think he's gonna opt out of his $18 million for next year. Like, oh no,
Bogey's getting 18.
He might not get like a 318. He just hasn't stayed healthy.
Oh,
that's crazy. 218, he could get 218.
He's the new Raiders quarterback of the Atlanta Hawks. He's effective when he's out there. He just can't.
Hey, place your bets, and when you're in Vegas on the Raiders, man, you're getting good odds. The odds getting good.
Bet $1, win 6,000.
That's at least worth like a $20 bet.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely worth
it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely right.
Wow.
It's throwing away money though.
We'll talk about it tomorrow though. The Niners. Oof.
Yeah,
we got
Sam Darnold,
picking
game
up.
changer.
Wow.
And then they got the big defensive lineman.
Well, I was being sarcastic.
Well, then the division is starting to shape up the way I wanted to.
Oh, we haven't even talked about Jesse's Dolphins.
I know. We're gonna say that for Tuesday. It was a busy weekend.
Probably
busy
won't. I'm gonna be
weekend.
honest with you. It might not even be tomorrow.
Wow.
Trista, remember, it's Trista Tuesday.
It's Trista Tuesday.
Is Jason Jones? We got a Kings game tonight.
Well, the Niners. They're going back to the 90s. That's why I like
when free agency actually starts on Wednesday, we can cover all this stuff.
I've seen all this stuff today. I thought everything started on Wednesday.
Well, it's legal tampering. Legal tampering.
We did talk about Domas winning Western Conference Player of the Week.
We didn't. No, how about that? First time this season, right, for him? Or second?
I don't think it's his first.
Oh, okay.
I think it's his second.
Okay.
Between him and Fox, I think they both have a couple, don't they?
I thought it was funny that him and Joe got it. Joel obviously very well deserving, but there are a lot of people think that those might be your all NBA second and third team centers.
Yeah, I like that the NBA puts Domas as a forward/center, which means that he could actually get like a higher all NBA as a power forward than he could as a center.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're getting sneaky. I see them working.
What? Okay. I feel like it's a whole other discussion to ask if they should change the way that they do that. But
yeah, I mean,
like, what's Giannis?
To me, he'd be a power forward.
Because
you got Brook Lopez there playing center.
Okay.
Man, Brook Lopez.
Second of the season for Domas.
Yeah, second. Yeah, January 16th, the week of January 16th, he won. Brook Lopez just all of a sudden decided he's going to be a great defensive player. I don't know, what is he, 34?
He changed his whole game.
He did.
In his 30s.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is nuts.
He'll be 35 on April 1st.
It's also crazy those guys are that old. Like that. They've been in the league that long.
I remember him in high school.
Really? Goodness gracious.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging 2.5 blocks a game, which he's always been a good block man. And the Kings were interested in him years ago. But like just to become all of a sudden this incredible defensive player, it speaks really, really highly of his work ethic and how hard he's worked off the court. Because I mean, that guy isn't someone who jumps over a phone book very often, and he's just mobile enough to get it done. And man, that's where I really don't like this matchup for the Kings, because they've got a bunch of really strong perimeter defenders, and then they funnel to him, and he's just become elite at protecting the rim. So like where De'Aaron Fox likes to live, it's going to be difficult with Drew Holiday hanging all over him on the perimeter.
Well, that's going to be an interesting matchup, because we talked about it a little bit earlier, and then we had to go to break. We didn't really get into it too much, but that matchup with Drew Holiday, and I talked about how he had 31 in that first matchup. Well, I don't know what the criteria is. I don't know who else will be in the candidate be a candidate for it, but I said De'Aaron Fox should possibly get some look at being all defensive team, maybe second team for a point guard. And
I think Doug Christie would cry if that happened. Like Doug has been trying to manifest that for years, like dating back to Radio Doug.
Is that off though? I mean, we see him every day, we see him every night, and I think he's been really good on the defensive end. And I pointed out that one time when they played Dallas or something was going on, and I think it was after the Clippers game, and I pointed out to all these games.
Yeah.
At the end of the games, who's the one guarding the other team's best player? And none of them are guarding De'Aaron. De'Aaron's guarding Paul George, Trae Young.
It was Dallas too, because he had Luka.
He had Kyrie.
The Dallas game.
He was guarding Kyrie when they was going back and forth. And who was guarding Fox? Josh Green and Norman Powell. I don't know exactly who it was, but it wasn't Paul George. It wasn't him. And he takes a challenge. He did it the other night when he picked Chris Paul and kind of turned his water off in the fourth quarter. What you think about that, Ham? Because you kind of look at these things a little bit more, but I think at the very least you should get some consideration for second team all defense.
Yeah, I mean the problem is the Kings are historically bad on the defensive end. They're not the worst, but They are 25th in the NBA.
How many times can we be historically bad? Are we just starting to use the word historic? Because weren't we historically bad last year?
2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago.
I think it was the worst defensive rating in the history of the game. Where, here we are, fast forward 2 years, and the Kings have the best offensive rating in the history of the game.
Well, we're going to be historic one way or another.
Yeah, just be memorable, I guess. The King's
That's
motto.
the King's motto.
Be memorable. You can be good, you can be bad. Be memorable, I think, is a bigger thing. And, there's nothing worse than a boring, bad team. The Kings, at least over the last 12 years, most seasons have been at least somewhat exciting or chaotic bad teams. So there's always something to write about. But now this is, it's all about the good vibes.
What's it going to say when the Mike Brown's preseason notebook gets leaked and it says, hey, don't be a turnstile for the first 3 quarters, work on the defensive end, but we're going to turn it up in crunch time. That's when we're turning it up. When we're in those clutch minutes, that's when we turn the defense up. And then everyone's going to say Mike Brown is a genius because his team was in fact terrible defensively for 3 quarters, but a top 10 defense when it came to clutch time.
Yeah, they are good in the clutch. I mean, both sides of the court, but the game does slow down. That's something Fox talked about recently. It's in the fourth quarter, the game slows down a lot and it becomes more of a half court game. And the Kings can beat you in transition. They can beat you in an up-tempo style. They can also beat you in a slow down half court battle. And I think, again, we speak about the versatility of the offense all the time. But they, this is a team that you think would be the fastest team in the league. They're 9th in the league in pace. They just aren't. What they're really good at is 2-point field goal percentage, which they've led the league the entire season. And then they're really good, their true shooting numbers off the charts. Their effective field goal is off the charts. And so while they're a good 3-point shooting team, and that's where we see the blow up games where they're scoring 1 million points. It's that they're so good at getting the 2-point basket. And, if you're shooting 60% from 2, that's 1.2 points per possession. And everyone else is shooting, 45%, that's 0.9. That means you're picking up 0.3 points every single possession. It's tough to beat you.
The other thing about that offense that I see is the fact that they get one-on-ones all the time because you can't leave nobody, right? So Fox gets one-on-one. How many times do we see Domas get doubled in the post? It seems like teams are kind of giving up on that because they know if you leave,
triple teamed on Saturday.
Well, if you leave, you're gonna find the open guy.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
So your best bet might be I think sometimes they think, man, I don't want to say let him score, but we'll take the 2 instead of the 3, basically. You know what I mean? I'll take my chances with DeAndre Ayton or Brook Lopez one-on-one with Sabonis. He may get 25 on him, but if Kevin Huerter's got 3 threes and Monk is getting 3 threes off our double teams, we have no chance. And that's just what adds this offense, man. They get one-on-ones everywhere. Fox goes one-on-one. You try to double him, all right, you're going to make the right pass, hit Monk, who hits Kessler Edwards, 3, ball game. The construction of the roster by Monty McNair, once again, executive of the year, I mean, it seems so simple, but he actually went out and did exactly what Sabonis and Fox needed to be their maximum selves.
Yeah, I mean, this team is shooting 59.2% from 2. And they're second in the league in field goal percentage overall at 50%. They're 4th in the league in assists. I mean, all of these numbers are just they average 27.1 assists per game. So that's crazy. But the 2-point field goal percentage is just.
Do you have who's ahead of them by any chance on the assist list? Do you have who's ahead of them, or are you just looking at their rankings?
I know the Warriors are ahead. I can actually.
Have you guys seen the Warriors defensive splits?
The home and away?
Yeah.
I think I saw it over the weekend.
It's insane.
Isn't it 120 on the road and 110
points
per game or something like that?
So it's something along the lines of the 27th worst defense and away, and like the 4th at home.
They're so bad on the road.
It's
no
like,
sense.
how does that? That's insane.
It makes no sense.
No,
That's
none
the
of their
truth.
stats make any sense. They're home and road. I mean, the fact they can't win at all on the road.
Mm.
And the Kings have the best road record in the Western Conference. They have one of the best road records in the NBA.
Top 4. I think it's the top. I think it's the top 3 Eastern Conference teams, and then the Kings.
Mm.
Yeah.
Confirm that right now, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I think they have the 3rd best. They're 19 and 13. Oh no.
Yeah, Philadelphia is 19 and 12. So
Yeah.
It's Milwaukee. It's actually Boston has the best. Milwaukee 2nd, Philly, and then Sacramento.
Man, Warriors are 7 and 26 on the road.
That's crazy. They're in the company of Houston and San Antonio.
I don't think
in Detroit.
I don't think they've gotten a road win since I asked you, will they get 10?
They haven't. They haven't won since that
was
moment.
like 3 weeks ago.
They have not won since you asked that question. Not one single road game since you asked that question.
They have 8 more road games still.
Wow.
That's not good. That's not good for them.
Well, for them.
I mean, the Kings are
final 8 on the road.
Well, everyone keeps pointing out one's at Houston. Like literally everyone points that out. Anthony Slater brought it up. Well, I know they got one in Houston. So you're in bad shape if that's all you can go to.
Look, the Kings may have nothing to play for.
Yo, they're at LA, at Atlanta, at Memphis, at Houston, at Dallas. They might lose that Houston game. They might lose against Houston.
And when they play the Kings, like I said, they might not have nothing to play for.
By the way,
they might be able to get the Kings because Kings might have 2 seeds.
Yeah, it'd be road win 8. Phoenix, LA, Atlanta, Memphis. How many games is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 10. 9 of their next 10 games, if you count NBA TV, are on national television. The one that's not is Houston. And 3 of those are ESPN. 1 is TNT.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Hey, I get it. It's Steph.
Steph is
still must see TV.
They were on the 2 screens at the crib, and what he did in that 4th quarter.
Yeah.
To save the Warriors.
That's why I wouldn't want the Kings to play the Warriors. Is because of that dude and what he can do.
They had no business winning that game.
He can beat you by himself.
Steph?
He's one of like 4 players in the league who can beat you by themselves.
Yeah.
So, guys, before we get out of here, there's a video that was I saw on Twitter, and I don't know where they.
Is it JJ?
That's never that statement. Anytime you start with those words, it never ends well.
Well, it's I can't hear it. I'll have to listen to it later. But it's Luke Walton. Giving a speech in the locker room to this Kings team, and number one, I can't imagine what he's saying. And then I'm looking at some of the players in this shot, and no wonder they didn't win 40 games. This is not a good collection of players.
Did you retweet it? You said it's on Twitter?
I just tagged you right now.
I mean, we're looking at DeQuan.
Oh.
I told you guys that.
Okay.
There's who's my what's my man's name? The lefty.
I think we got time to pull this off. Is it clean? It's clean? Okay.
Yeah, it's on
I don't know if it's clean. We have time.
Oh, okay.
And they're on TNT. I don't know how they got on TNT.
Oh, we've got to share this. This has to be shared with the world.
Screen might be clean because it's on TNT.
Screen might look a little messy. Sorry. Thanks to our man Tony Zipteris.
Look at some of these.
We're going to be fine. As long as we keep spacing, sharing the ball, we're going to score points. Defense, they have to feel us. And not just tonight. They have to feel us every single time we step on the court. And tonight's a great opportunity because it's a good offensive team. They play with spacing. They have shooting. Let's not waste this opportunity.
There's like half the players in that shot aren't in the league anymore.
I'm motivated. Let's go. I'm ready to do another 4 hours.
I told you guys how tough it is, like, if you're really being objective, to look at the Luke Walton era and judge, like, look at the team he opened Monty McNair's first season.
That was like 2 years ago, too.
Cow.
That wasn't like looking back 9 years ago. That was like 2